Msimang, a veteran member, veteran leader of the African National Congress, played an important role in the struggle for freedom. He joins us now. Mr. Msimang, good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for your time today on Newsfeed. You'll have seen that press conference. You'll have seen the announcement that two people implicated in causing the collapse of VBS Bank, or let me put it another way, two people implicated in the looting of VBS Bank are being reinstated to their ANC positions by the ANC. How do you feel about that, sir?
Well, I am absolutely disappointed by the indecent hurry to reinstate these two comrades. First of all, there are two processes here. There is an internal ANC process via the Integrity Commission, which establishes completely outside what the criminal courts do after listening to evidence what should happen to the comrades. They made a decision. It is having them for another committee in the program. This was the right decision. There is absolutely no reason to change that simply because the people have been brought to trial, having been tried. So what happens when in future they are charged? At that point that the ANC will decide that it should have continued with the suspension, doesn't make sense.
I mean, the risk here, as you point out, is that we know the National Prosecuting Authority is making arrests. The chances are, I would imagine, the ANC might be a little embarrassed if suddenly these two people were charged.
Well, I think there is a tussle in there. There are people who, for reasons of weaknesses of our organization, feel the pressure of having taken the correct decisions to recommend to the suspension of these two persons. They were correct in doing that. There must be tremendous pressure, given what's going on in our organization, that these people be reinstated. It's got nothing to do with fairness and justice.
One of the people you refer to, I don't know if you mean to do it consciously, but Soviet Lek Khanyane, let it be known, he did an interview with, I think, the Sowetan newspaper, in which he said he wanted people in Limpopo to know that he argued against the reinstatement of Danny Msiza and Florence Radzilani. He's the provincial secretary of the structure that they will rejoin. There'll be a provincial executive committee now. There'll be a provincial structure that all three of these people will be on the same structure. Do you think the structure can work when he's been so public with his opposition and the NEC rescinds the suspension of these two officials?
I didn't really even mean him specifically, but if that's the position that he took, it is an honorable, it's the right kind of position. He is now having to get together and work together with people whose case has not yet been established, who have not been cleared. I have absolutely no doubt that this is not going to be good for the ANC. They will manage in their own way to kind of smooth over this thing, but this is the kind of thing that is causing our movement so many problems with the population at large. We came into government, especially more recently, on a very strong platform of fighting against corruption. So anything that insinuates, that implies corruption, and this is not to say it has been committed, the people have to see us to be against corruption, to be intolerant of corruption. You know, I can imagine if these people were cleared in due course, with the ANC going back to them and saying, comrades, welcome back, could even refund them the funds that, the money that they would have lost. The fact of the matter is that it's really a hasty decision, wrong decision, only a consequence of pressure by some forces within our own organization.
There have been other developments on the issue of corruption in the ANC. I'm sure you saw Popo Molefe speaking this week at the Zondo Commission, explaining how he went to the ANC's top six. That's before the Nasrec election. So President Jacob Zuma, still leader of the ANC at the time, detailed the corruption he was seeing in PRASA. Jesse Duarte, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, both then and now, saying in the last hour that they did not have power to act, that it was up to the PRASA board to act, and that they will go to the Zondo Commission to explain their view. How do you feel about that? Was this the top six at the time sort of washing their hands of it?
Well, it's so sad. One must respect one's leaders, but I don't respect some of the actions they take. This is an excuse that is not going to be accepted by South Africans at large. When Popo said that at his presentation at the Zondo Commission, in his presentation at the Zondo Commission, it shocked many people. I don't think anybody thought that was the decision of the board. You don't report something to your party and you are a Popo and expect them to assist, in dealing with blatant, corruption. And it's again one of those things that are really bringing our organization into some really serious disrepute. I am disappointed, actually. I was shocked that he had informed the people about this. I'm disappointed to learn that this is the excuse that's being used for not taking action.
I mean, in some way, I have to wonder if there's a problem with the National Prosecuting Authority. I mean, what the ANC and what Ace Magashule in particular, as Secretary General, has said today is that people are innocent until proven guilty. Legally, of course, he's utterly correct. But there's also the failure of the National Prosecuting Authority to charge anyone over the last 2 years. That sort of opened the window for this to happen.
What we were told, and we would like to believe, I've worked in government, I have been involved with the changing of people, of institutions where corruption was rife. It takes a while sometimes to get rid of the people because you can't just do it ad hoc. You've got to follow certain procedures. That was my kind of sympathy to Batohi, to Ms. Batohi, for failing to act. Prior to her, you didn't expect anybody to act anyway because that was just part of the political scheme to do these things. It's taking too long, I must say. The prosecution authority would have been expected to move, but I think the commitment to do that exists. The means to do it effectively, to not fail. You don't want to see a situation in which a case of provable corruption is dismissed because of certain investigative technicalities.
I have to ask this question, I'm afraid, sir. Do you believe that corruption is taking over our country? Is it possible to roll it back? I think there'll be some who will be watching developments over the last few years and think that actually to change corruption, to change what I think many people are now beginning to see as a culture of corruption, it's just impossible.
Corruption is endemic in South Africa. I'm afraid, from what we hear and see, corruption is endemic also in my own organization. And really, we went to the people and said to them, we are aware that we are extremely corrupt. We committed these acts of corruption, but from now on, with the new administration, this is not going to continue. I mean, we're listening to Kimi Makwetu, the AG's report. It just vanquishes you, the level of corruption. We dare not give up. The fight must continue within the ANC, outside of the ANC. Citizens must come up now in some formation that I cannot understand and say, no, this cannot happen to our country. But we really do have a very, very difficult task ahead of us insofar as removing corruption is concerned. I mean, if people who are in very senior positions are themselves being implicated, accused of corruption, I'm saying wisely accused, it's difficult. It's really difficult because no one will have any faith. The people in general will not have faith that will be able to deal with malaise. There is a pandemic that no one can blame us for failing to deal with. But the pandemic of corruption is something that is a serious commentary on how badly we're failed as an organization.